Yep. Still here, still standing. Sir Charles, Miss Max. And by popular demand, Miss Max. You know what that is in the background, don't you?
I hear it. It's been a minute.
It's the questions. Well, guess what? Since it's been a minute, you have to call to request an increase in your mailbox.
Something.
Because your mailbox got your ass Max sitting there. Yeah. So family, Sir Charles, Miss Max. You know what? This should be good because Max has no idea which one I'm selecting today. So we're gonna kind of put it on the spot like we used to do back in the olden days.
All right, what you got?
You ain't nervous.
What you got?
You look a little nervous over there, Miss
I
Max.
ain't scared, Charles. I ain't scared.
Oh man. So let's see. Make sure everybody can hear us loud and clear on this one. So Max, there was apparently some talk recently, in regards, and it's funny that we're coming off of the political debate too, as far as rights and freedoms and whatnot, things of that sort, and like the evolution of people. And then when it comes to questioning things later, some say that comes from, humans are smarter now, we evolve, right? It's the best word for it. So here's the Ask Max question though, because this is something that apparently is happening more. I didn't even know it was happening that much.
Okay.
Shows you how much I know. I thought I was in the know.
Okay.
I ain't even in the know. Maybe you were in the know. But the question is quite simply, Miss Max, who should propose? Talking about marriage. Who should propose? Because there a conversation came up, and so listener asked, that we talk about it. Who should propose? Because apparently, of course, thankfully women are more liberated, more educated, more so than ever. So people say that the idea of a man proposing is antiquated. It's old school. Some even say that it comes from a time to where women were property, right? Comes from a time where women were looked at as like a prize for the man. So it was due process for the man to pick his. And I'm using strong language on purpose because I'm trying to show, how what some folks say why this is outdated. And so the man needs to be the one to ask a lady's hand in marriage. Of course, you can even go to some cultures where first they talk to the parents approve, and then they give their daughter. So after saying all that, in the year 2023, Max, is that a tradition that holds weight or is it outdated? Who should propose, Miss Max?
Is it biblical? Help me out. Is it something in the book of Ruth?
The only thing I could think of, hey, and IMHO Talk Show Online, if we got some theologists that want to call, theologians rather, that want to call in or message, but to my knowledge, still societal, it was the same thing. It was the stories that did mention like a man, taking a wife was still at a time when women were their property.
Right.
Because mind you, and we ain't going down this path, Max, but mind you, some folks even say that, the King James version that we read left some women's stories out, some stories that they say that were written by Mary and things of that sort that would shed light on how Jesus was liberating women.
How do you know that?
Like there's some historians like they say like
how they know that?
They claim they found scrolls and scriptures and stuff like they believe that were written by women like Mary Magdalene and whatnot, and they say that Jesus actually was liberating women, but the men who were in control didn't want that to get out because then they would lose control over society. Okay. But that's another topic for another day.
Yeah.
But who should propose in this year 2023? Miss Max, if you were to meet Troy Robinson today and you said, I need that man in my life, would you drop down on one knee?
All right. So true story. True story about, let's see, married about nearly 20 years ago. I asked a man to marry me.
Oh wow.
Yep.
Okay. Max ahead of her time.
And I did that. Why did I do that? We had 2 children together. My parents were both still married in the house, were present in me and my siblings' life, and so there was like the pressure, I guess, of wanting to provide that type of home life for my children, or that
Makes
family
sense.
dynamic for my children.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like I was getting older, and all of my friends, or Facebook friends rather, were married.
It's different.
Were married, and I wanted that. And so I asked some buster. I might get sued. For his hand in marriage.
Right. I mean, it feels odd to say,
quite frankly, I don't know what I was thinking. Like, I mean, I was thinking all those things. And for me at that time, in that moment, all that really mattered was us getting married. You know, him asking, me asking, that part wasn't a big deal. But neither one of us were ready for marriage, and especially he was not ready for marriage. We started marriage counseling after that, and it just devolved. And so, yeah, God helped me out with that one. Sometimes when God says no, you know, he's really, he's looking out for you. Thank you, Lord.
So then in you saying, and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off on your story, but I want to ask a question about it if you were done.
Yeah, go ahead.
So with that scenario though, like just that, you know, like, of course, let's try to cast aside the fact that that wasn't the right person to ask.
Right.
But the fact that you asked, then does that mean like that the validity is there for a woman to ask?
Yeah, no, it didn't feel right. You know, it felt out of order. This is just me personally speaking about my own experience. I would have rather it not have, you know, transpired that way. But in the moment, it is what felt okay or right to me. Like, I'm just trying to make it happen, right? But yeah, back to your question though.
No, it makes sense.
You know, I think there's some value in my humble opinion, some value in the man asking for the woman's hand in marriage, asking for it. Because when you got the right people with the right mindset, I'm not talking about, you know, I mean, a man can ask for it and he cannot be marriage material for more than one reason. But that means that it knows that he's making a choice, that this is the woman that I want to be with. This is who I want to live the rest of my life with. This is who I am choosing to be a covering for. This is who I want. And so I guess asking to me feels there's a lot of intention behind that, a lot of which I haven't even defined. But you know what I'm saying? It says that he's making a choice, that he knows this is what he wants. He's accepting this responsibility by asking. And I think I would much rather be asked than to do the asking, right? Yeah. As far as the woman asking, I mean, we live in a different time, and I don't necessarily know that I feel like there's something wrong with that. But you know, you got to make sure you got the right people with the right intentions and thought process about everything that comes along with a marriage, right? I think that's what really, really, really matters, is whether or not you got the right mindset, the right heart, the right type of people entering into that union, whether he asks or whether she asks, because that is what makes the marriage.
Yeah, I feel you there. And the one thing we didn't even touch on though is you got same-sex couples too, because we've kind of been framing this conversation, you know, from the traditionalist standpoint. what a traditional relationship, or what a couple, what defines a couple, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, so I think if you look at it from that perspective, then then that kind of takes me back a bit and be like, okay, well then, if you look at it from a same sex couple's vantage point, then it's whoever feels ready to ask first, because you kind of remove the gender role,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, and say, I don't know if you have any comment on
I
that
don't.
one, but in saying that though, that still ties back in. I want to ask you this part,
Mm-hmm.
because something else that came up from this was, from this topic was, a man knows when a woman is ready.
Okay.
And I'm curious if you believe it or not, or if you think it holds true. And this was the reason why this individual thinks that tradition is still okay, and we can, like, like, move the negativity of maybe what it was derived from, move that to the side,
Mm-hmm.
for the simple fact of, a woman makes it apparent
Mm-hmm.
that she's here to stay and she's ready.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like the degree of difficulty, or
Mm-hmm.
the margin of error,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
for a woman to take that leap
Yeah.
and be like, I'm going to ask his hand
Well,
in
hey,
marriage.
it says a whole lot if the woman is the one asking. It does.
Yeah. Yeah, but do you think
Um.
that's true though? It's like a man can ask because he knows, like, that
Mm-hmm.
woman is ready. She ain't going
Mm-hmm.
nowhere. Which there's women have said no before. That's
Mm-hmm.
like all women don't say yes. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean?
Mm-hmm.
But a woman sometimes feels like that she never really know what to do
Yeah.
if he's ready.
Yeah. I think there's some truth in that.
uh,
I do. But, Razor has always said, because we didn't, we weren't together years before we decided to get married. And he has always said, and I think this is the honest to God truth, is that it doesn't take a man years and years and years to know
mhm.
whether or not I want to marry this woman, or spend the rest of, marry her to spend the rest of my life with her. It doesn't take that long. So when people are engaged for 6, 10, 15 years, but this man has no intention on marrying you. Yeah, I mean, it can be harder to tell. It depends on, it's subjective, depends on the man. It can be harder to tell when a man is ready for marriage, yes. But
Yeah.
we got open communication in the relationship, then the two of you ought to know where the other stands.
Very well said. Very, very well said. Well, we always let you close. Ask Max, like, do you have any question for me? Because that was a perfect, like, closing statement. We could have left it right there, but yeah, like, but that was Ask Max for the day.
I mean,
Who should propose?
what do you think? Like, I know you asking for a friend, right? Like you asking for a friend who should propose, but
yeah, and this apparently
thoughts?
was a viral topic,
Yeah,
right?
I'm
something.
teasing. I'm being funny.
No,
Yeah.
but it still was a conversation that I had with a friend, though.
Mm-hmm.
That pointed me to this.
Mm-hmm.
Said we should talk about it, but yeah, like, the more things change, the more they stay the same. Like, I am old school at heart, at soul, but I don't let tradition stand in the way either. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, because sometimes traditions and even antiquated belief systems can hold up progress,
Right.
when God is trying to take you to another level. You know what I mean? So yeah, so I mean, short answer, like I don't think it matters. I don't think it should matter. Now let me add this caveat to it, though. That when I talk about me being old school traditionalist, I still hold men, like, to a high regard. Like, I still do believe, like, that and same for, like, same sex couples, like, the male of any relationship, I still feel like has certain responsibilities inherently.
Yeah.
That's what makes male female, right? It's like there's certain roles. And again, regardless of what your relationship makeup may be, that's a conversation to have. Just like heterosexual couples go through therapy and realize and gotta agree before we move in together, before we get married, what does this look like? So, so it don't matter what your relationship makeup is, like, you should know what it's going to look like going forward, or you're going to be unpleasantly surprised when that person doesn't do stuff that you just thought that they should have done, right? So then, yeah, so when it comes to proposing, same thing. I feel like either side can take the leap. Like, whenever you're ready, I mean, I don't know, because, like, I never really understood like what led to somebody saying no in the first place? Because I don't know, like maybe it's me, but I feel like that's a conversation that you should have had. It's like you should already know if your relationship is at that point, right? And then if we having these conversations and we building together and we already know what it's going to look like, and we've said, okay, like whatever it may be, when I get this job, that's the last thing on my list, and I'm gonna be ready to settle down or whatever you want to call it, buy a house, move in together, whatever. Or maybe when I finish school, then I'll be ready. Whatever the case may be. I feel like a strong relationship, both sides are gonna know when it's time. So either side can ask. Now, don't have it be a stalemate relationship.
Yeah.
And then both of y'all looking at each other like, well, I'm ready. I wrote it down for you. When you gonna ask?
Right. I think another part of this though is that, and I don't know the statistics on whether or not marriages are up or down, right? In terms of the number of marriages.
Damn.
But but I don't even know if this is a conversation that people are having, because as times changed, fewer and fewer people, I guess, are even desiring to be in a marriage. We share bills, we buy a house together, we live in the same home, we may have a child in common. And so what do we need to even why do we need to get married? Why do we need that?
Yeah. That's real. That's real.
So
that's real. But that makes me think though, Max, is like that highlights why there's so much more to a quote unquote marriage than just getting a paper and a ring. You know what I mean? Because to be married, just by definition, like you have those things going on between two people. Right now, to make it, like legal, lawful, I get all that. And there's, and I think that's what it boils down to. Some people are now making that choice of saying, okay, well, like, is this something that we need, like to be honored, like by the state? Like, what's the benefits of that for us?
Yeah.
But then there's some people who's old school about it and be like, nah, you're going to put a ring on this finger. If you want me to stay here, so to each his own.
Yeah. The great debate.
Hey, we said all that to tell y'all figure it out.
I know, right?
You want to take us to break?
Yeah, let's take a quick break. And when we come back, more conversation with Charles and I, in my humble opinion. Stay tuned.